It's the Morning Hustle with L'Oreal and myself, Kyle Santillian. And we love when guests slide by the studio. And this guy right here has been doing this thing for years. He's a multimedia personality, a business coach, a best-selling author, a weight loss guru. How many more titles can we put on his name? This is our guy, Taz Daddy, better known as David Anderson, in the building right now. What's up, brother?
Kyle, it's good to see you, bro. Congratulations on all the success, man. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you, bro. So there's a lot of things that we could dive into,
Sure.
like I just mentioned. But let's just start. I want to kind of start with your weight loss journey, because that's something that you've most recently been sharing with people through your different platforms. First and foremost, for the people that don't know what your platforms are, let them know where you share this kind of information.
Oh, man, I am absolutely everywhere you are. Instagram, YouTube, everything is at The Business Bully, so you can definitely follow me there. We have Business Bully TV that we are relaunching in January 2024, so super excited about that. And Business Bully Podcast, you know, I like to keep everything real simple. That way I ain't gotta, you know, the older I get, the less my memory works. So that's where we are. Everything is at The Business Bully.
No doubt. So at The Business Bully, and like I was saying a second ago, you've been sharing most recently a lot of your weight loss journey on there. Let's go back to the day where you decided, hey, I need to make a change. What happened? What was going on? Where were you at in life at that moment?
Well, let's see. I was a quarter ton plus 61, a.k.a. 561 pounds. A good friend of mine in radio.
561?
Yeah.
Wow.
561.
Wow.
I carry my weight well. So nobody thought I was anything more than 350, maybe 400. But no, I was 561 pounds. I had a 72-inch waist. I had like 3-4 chins, you know.
Wow.
But the thing of it was, I had a buddy named Chris who was in radio when I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and he got cancer, and he beat it like 4 times. And the 5th time, it took him out. And he left radio, became a cop, like peak physical condition. And I started to notice people kept dying who were in better shape than I was. Some were younger, some were older, and I said, I got to do something and be serious about it this time. So, I dropped 50 pounds and then pick it back up, and then, drop 100 pounds and pick it back up. So I decided to see some specialists. I put my money where my mouth is. We'll spend a bunch of money trying to get more money, try to build a business and legacy and all that, and we don't spend enough money on the one thing that we can't replace, and that's our health, our bodies. And so I found the best doctors, specialists, surgeons, nutritionists, and I spent a good amount of money on a therapist because our relationship with food is jacked up. So that's how we started, and 312 pounds down. So I'm super happy about that.
That's interesting that you mentioned that not only did you find somebody to help with the weight itself, but a therapist talking about our relationship with food. What did you discover in those sessions with the therapist and in relation to food and how we were, maybe mismanaging what we eat?
Well, I'll talk about my personal relationship, then I'll talk about us as a culture.
Okay.
So first, my personal relationship with food was taught to me. My grandfather, ran away from the Klan, built himself up, went through the Navy, had 6 kids. And so you a black man in the 30s and 40s and 50s with 6 kids, it's going to be tight.
Yeah.
So his whole philosophy was take all you want, eat all you take, make sure you clean your plate. So that's how I justified the way that I ate. Like, you don't waste no food, because you don't know when the next meal is coming. Then come to find out my mother, love my mom, hi mom, emotional eater. So she ate her feelings. So I learned to eat my feelings, right? Then you think about how in this business, and this is no diss to this business that has allowed me to go on and do phenomenal things since I've retired, but this is a sedentary lifestyle. What happens when a record rep comes through? We go on a roost, Chris. What happens when there's any type of meet and greet with celebrities and artists and fans? There's food. Every single thing we do is around food. Now, culturally, everything's food. Somebody dies, there's food. Somebody gets married, there's food. Somebody gets divorced, there's food. Right. So our whole thing is our love language is food. Hell, there was a blockbuster movie called Soul Food where the family, after somebody dies, the grandmama dies, what do? They serve the same food that put grandmama in the hole in the first place. So once you start divorcing yourself from that ideology and you start to realize that food is for fuel, not for fun, not for social climbing, and you can start eating regular portions, and you start replacing that with something else. So I replaced food with water. I replaced food with karate. I replaced food with working out. I replaced food with playing with my kids. I replaced food with spending more time with my wife. I replaced food with nurturing my staff. I replaced food with bigger speaking engagements. I replaced food with writing another book. I replaced food with helping more people get financially free and financially stable if that's what they want to do. I found other things to do than sit around and stuff my face. Because if you're moving, you don't have time to be sitting down at a meal. So
right. No, that's interesting, man. It all starts with a mindset. And you mentioned some of them in some of the things that you were just listing off.
Right.
But physically in your day-to-day activities, what kind of things were you doing to lose the weight?
Karate, 4 times a week. I do strength training 6 days a week. I walk 15,000 steps 7 days a week. And I spend a lot of time just understanding the science of how my body works. So I'm super heavy on protein. I drink a gallon of water a day. Am I perfect? Nah, far from it. There are days where I will still slack off, but 1 day out of 7, I'm good. And I think that that's the balance. Like while I'm doing press and things of that nature, oh, bro, like, no, we going someplace.
Yeah.
If there's soul food, I'm going to have some, and the other part of that that's extremely important is I knew that I needed to do something very, very drastic, and I don't want to downplay it because a lot of people don't talk about this. I went and had a vertical sleeve gastrectomy, which is different than a gastric bypass or a switch. It means that they take your stomach and they cut 80% of it and they rip it out. And then they stitch it up so it looks like a banana as opposed to, in my case, 3 beach balls. Right. And that limits the amount of food that I can have. And then after time, that stomach will then re-expand to normalcy. The problem is people will get that surgery and think that it's magic, and it's not. Like, I work so hard to build muscle, maintain this weight, and then all the stuff that comes with it. But no, I had a surgery and I watched what I ate and I hired a nutritionist and I saw a therapist. So,
and how long has it been since you started the journey?
I started the journey in 2015, but I did not get my surgery until 2021.
Okay.
So from 2020 to 2021, that was that year that I was seeing nutritionists. I still see a therapist. I found a personal trainer. I changed my relationship with food. And then 2021, July 14th, 2021 till now. So a little over 2 years. So I'm the new Lori Harvey. I've dropped 5 X's in 3 years. So
that's what's up, man. That's good stuff.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Let's go back to the business bully.
Yes.
And who is Dave Anderson when he becomes the business bully? What does that represent? What do you teach people in terms of motivating them to get their business together?
So this is the problem with society at large, not just our people, but Americans, let's just say, and the West. We have this mentality now that everything you do is okay. Everything you do is just enough. Getting by is okay. Getting a 17th place trophy is okay. And I'm a Nelly fan. 2 is not a winner and 3 nobody remembers. If you're not in it to be number 1, what are you doing it?
Right.
And for me, I realized that accountability in this soft, safe space, everybody's right life that we live comes across as bullying. And so somebody said to me one day, Dave, you're a business bully. I said, no, I'm the business bully. And then I ran with it because we have to stop apologizing for wanting something better for ourselves. You have children. You have a wife. You don't just do this. You don't get up out of bed and get on a microphone, not just because you love it. You have mouths to feed. Not only that, you have children watching you. Right? Tuition is not cheap. Right? These bills are a certainty. They talk about death and taxes. In order to tax somebody, they have to have income.
Yeah, for sure.
So in order to have income, you have to work. The thing of it is, it goes beyond a job. If 70% of Americans wake up going to a job that they hate, that's a problem because that leads to stress, that leads to high blood pressure, that leads to aneurysms, that leads to heart attacks. And so what I do is I find a way to take whatever your dream is and then I systematize it. Because everybody's dope, right? Everybody's talented. There's 1,000,001 million yous out there.
Right.
In order to get in here, it takes a team. There's promotions, there's sales, there's a digital team, there's videographers, there's editors, there's all these people. Most people don't have all these people.
Right.
I happen to have all of these people. So you come in with your idea, and I have one person that literally just does organization and tells you what to do. I have another person whose only job it is to make sure you're on task, right? Because accountability is important. Then we start talking about methodology. I primarily handle ideas and sales. You don't need to be the only person on your team for your team to be effective. Puff made billions of dollars not making one beat.
Right.
That's the thing. He knows how to organize. Right. And when you know how to organize and you know what people's strengths and weaknesses are, you can then collaborate effectively.
Yeah.
And we need collaboration. And so that's what we do. And we've been able to help hundreds of people make millions of dollars. And aside from my kids being born, aside from my illustrious career in this business, it's the greatest thing in the world to have somebody say, I retired my wife, I retired my husband, my kids don't have to worry anymore. That's what I do this for, man.
Do you feel like that's the biggest thing when it comes to people not achieving whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, is that they're missing some sort of structure, they're missing the planning, they're missing all of those things that kind of carry the dream into a place where you can really make it happen?
Yes, and also, aside from just the team and the structure, we suffer as a community, meaning Americans, from possibility blindness.
Right.
Everything is set up for us to achieve later. How often do we abuse our children by saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was a radio personality signing contracted at the age of 9. I didn't wait till I grew up. Nobody told Gary Coleman to wait till he grew up. Right. But what do? Because that's rare. Because we tell our children that they can't be great at anything until they're 18. Unless you put them in some football pads, right? Or you put them in a beauty pageant, something like that. So at some point we got to start with fixing that possibility blindness. And so that's why I have a therapist on staff that talks about, I don't think I can make this happen this way. And we're like, no. Let's shoot for what's possible. Yeah. Let's go there. And if it doesn't work, then we'll retool it. But let's just go with the theory that we're right and you've been conditioned.
Right.
And once we get past that, then everything opens up.
It's like the whole mindset of, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're amongst the stars. That whole phrase.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Where I thought you were going to take it? I thought you were going to say, when you said possibility blindness, I thought you were going to take it from the aspect of there's I guess it still fits in the same category, but people will have opportunities in front of them and miss the opportunity
all the time,
or they weren't ready for the opportunity, they didn't recognize the opportunity, or they were scared to attempt the opportunity. Right.
Look at it like this: you're here, I've been here. There are those of us who have been in, and when I say here, I mean syndication in multiple markets, in major markets, because we saw opportunity disguised as its face. Hard work.
Yeah.
Right? There was no point. I had no problem getting Wendy Williams tea.
Right.
Right? I had no problem quietly producing Charlemagne in Philadelphia for no money.
Right.
I had no problem working for Les Brown when he replaced Dr. Laura for no money. When you see an opportunity, you have to take it. But we're taught that everything is instant gratification.
Right.
We're taught that everything is right now. I got to have it. I'm great today. I fired a young lady who I taught because I'm a professor at Temple University. I've taken this semester off. But I taught a young lady, and I fired that young lady a few months later, not because she wasn't capable, but she thought she was experienced because she had a degree.
Right.
Because that's the mentality. As long as you got the degree, you're good. You've got the experience. That's not the same thing.
It's not.
Buying boxing gloves does not mean you're ready for Mayweather.
I've always felt like in terms of college, the degree, all of that is a way for you to get an opportunity.
Yes.
Once you get the opportunity, you still got more work to do. You still have to. It's like another starting point.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you've achieved so much. It's allowed you to get to the point where now I have an opportunity to do more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even for me, like I always say, I credit my college years for getting me to the point where I got the internship at a radio station, and it got me in the door, and it got me in that environment in which I wanted to be.
Absolutely.
But once I got in that door, now there's a whole nother level of learning that needs to take place. And once I got in that door, that's when I really started to learn the things that I needed that would carry me on in the business.
Absolutely. I tell anybody, a degree is a degree. It is a piece of paper. It is a receipt for the work that you did, the assignments that you completed. And to put it a better way, it's a license, right? My oldest kid got her license, and she's not a great driver.
Right.
Because she got the license.
Right.
Like, no, NASCAR is not beating my baby's door down right now.
Right.
And that's the thing. You got the license. It says that you're capable of doing this, but now the real learning begins.
Yeah.
And listen, as a college professor, as somebody that has degrees, I will tell you straight up and down, it's a starting point, it's a jumping off point, but I learned so much more in application than I ever did in education.
For sure. Let's talk about, some of the books you've written.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go with the books? Like, which one is your favorite? Which one do you feel like helps the most people?
Wow. It's a tie. So pitch, close, upsell, repeat for me was like 101 on how to sell, right? These are the steps. It's a 4-part process: pitch, close, upsell, repeat. That book is still selling to this day, thank God. My favorite book that I've ever written out of all 21 of them is Sell It Like Jesus, because everybody want to argue that they can't sell. Everybody want to argue that sales is slimy. Okay, well, I'm going to show you how Jesus did it, because selling is not about an exchange for money. Selling is convincing somebody that something you have will solve their problem. So that's what Jesus did. The kingdom of God is like this. Who do they say I am? Right? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God. All of that shows you that you have to be able to talk to people and meet them where they are. Pick up your bed and walk, right? Lazarus, come on out. There is action that has to be taken on both sides. And once you break that down in somebody that to this day, every Sunday, $33 million gets made in the black church alone, right? Best-selling book of all time. Not only that, his merch game, his
merch game,
his cups,
hilarious way to put
cups, chains, videos, DVDs, MP3s, clothing, robes, music. His merch game is undeniable. This dude makes the WWE's merch look like a flash in the pan, look like a corner hustler. Right. And so when you put it that way and you realize that Jesus was neither slimy or someone who was trying to take advantage of people, then you can break down that you're scared of being a stereotype. You're scared of being that guy that comes out of the trailer with the tweed jacket and the leather patches trying to sell you a lemon car, right? And once you understand that everybody is selling, you sold your wife on the idea of spending the rest of your life with you. Right? You sold your wife on the idea that not only that, but we're going to have babies. Then you had to sell your wife about moving up and down the dial, this place, that place, and the other.
Right.
Still here, ain't she?
Yeah.
Congratulations. You're a phenomenal salesperson. That's what it is.
Okay.
You
All
know?
right. That was 2. Wasn't there a third one?
Yeah, there's a third book I absolutely love.
Because that was your favorite. Because the first one was, you said it was doing the best.
Yeah, it was doing the
that
best.
second one was your favorite.
That was my favorite.
Which one do you feel like helps people the most?
I wrote a book when I was homeless. And a lot of people, especially in radio, don't like to talk about what happens when you're on the beach. For people who aren't in radio, that means you don't have a job.
Right.
You know, you're like the person on a soap opera that got written off because your contract didn't go the way it was supposed to. And so nobody talks about you, nobody checks on you. I was homeless and I wound up getting a job as a security guard at an employment agency for the state. And I was looking at what I had at that point, because very few people, present company excluded, weren't returning my calls. And I said, if this is the end, and it wasn't, but at the time I said, if this is the end, I'm going to rely on the one thing that nobody can take from me. That's my common sense. And I feel like this world is missing common sense. And I wrote that book every day, like by hand, in a composition book I got from the dollar store while I'm sitting there, because there's no real crime happening in an unemployment agency. So I'm writing, and that book for me has had more people come up to me saying, listen, common sense ain't common, changed my life. Like, I like all the sales stuff, but just utilizing the power of common sense to get to where you need to be, right? And how many times I didn't use common sense, where if I had just shut up, I'd still have a job.
Right.
You know, if I had handled things a little bit more diplomatically, you know, I wouldn't have had the issues that I had when I was young and not have the gray hair and the beard, and, you know, all of those things. And so I think my grandfather would say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So Common Sense Ain't Common is a practical guide to getting the most out of life. And that's why I love that book, because it's nothing about selling. It's literally about being your best self in a practical way. Nothing, esoteric or spiritual.
Right.
It's just literally, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right? So if I were to compare it to anything, it's funny, on Amazon, they bundle it with Damon John's The Power of Broke.
Okay.
Which is, absolutely insane for me. But yeah, those are probably my top 3.
Yeah, that's dope. All right, so the other aspect of what you got going on is the motivational speaking.
Yeah.
You get out in front of people and you kind of, get them going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it still in that sales business environment with the motivational speaking, or is it something else? Is it more based on life lessons and things like that?
It depends on who hires me. When colleges hire me, they want me to empower young people to make the most out of their degree. Because what happens is, look, you can go right now, and I've said this 1,000,001 times, I will say it again. You don't have to believe me. Check out what the Bureau of Labor and Statistics says. Check out what the U.S. Department of Education says. Unless you're doctor, lawyer, engineer, architect, something along those lines, 27% of people who graduate from college are successful in the thing they majored in. That means that 73% are failing. So it is my job to help that 73% when I hit that stage and say, hey, you got a communications degree. Let's start communicating. Oh, you can't get a radio gig? Cool. You got a phone. That means you can sit up here and start a podcast. That means you can start a YouTube channel. You can build shorts. Like, we have to start talking about practical possibilities instead of these big random concepts that don't relate to anybody. Right. So that's the college level. When it comes to corporate, they're usually hiring me to fire up their salespeople, put them in a hot seat, show them what's possible in the way that they're approaching. Because even in this business, and I say this with all due respect, because I don't know the salespeople here or in any particular radio station, but toward the end of my run, and according to the DMs I still get from radio personalities all across the country, salespeople have stopped selling and traded selling in for pushing packages. They don't spend time getting to know the talent. They don't spend time getting to know the clients. When you don't know the talent, you don't know who's best suited for what client. When you don't know the client, you don't know what problem you're solving. So if you're giving somebody a package that does not add up to what their goals are, it's a waste of time, and you're costing your company millions of dollars.
Right.
So when we start dealing with people on a human level, when we start talking about how do you feel, when we go in and say, how can I help? What's working? What do you want to see happen in the next 6 months? That creates a relationship that automatically implies in their mind that you're going to be doing this at least for 6 months. When you go in trying to solve their problem as opposed to sell them something.
Yeah.
And God knows I wish L'Oreal was here so I could say, hey, do you like it when somebody actually helps you with something, or you want somebody to be like, hey, baby, I want to take you down tonight?
Right.
There's a difference in that approach, but that's how a lot of salespeople are trained now. Push these packages and just, let's get down tonight. And that's not how this is. The relationship, you can always, in every radio station.
That's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even just sales. That's kind of with life. And, maintaining relationships and just being a good person when you deal with people. Like, you shouldn't deal with people, obviously, based on status.
Right.
Where they are in life, what they have. You know what I mean? If you're able to connect with a person because of who they are and who you are and maintain that over the years, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the win.
That's the game. But there's somebody in this radio station, I know for a fact, just because I've been doing this my whole life, there's somebody who's been here longer than everybody else who has the biggest accounts. Yeah. And those are relationship built, right? So there's a secret. And y'all can come in with all the newfangled stuff you want, but relationships work. When I built my business and I had $20 in my bank account, I took $12, I built a GoDaddy website, and I made 100 calls every single day, right? Because I got skills. Right? So that's the whole thing. When you start smiling and dialing, when you start coming from that place.
Smiling and dialing.
When you start coming from that place and you're looking to help. Or wait for this, because this is a what would Callis say? Major key. When you go on somebody's Instagram and you see that it's trash and you see that they're not connecting, and you see that they're averaging 6 likes, you call them up and say, hey, do you realize you're missing out on at least $250,000 a year? Would you like me to help you get that real quick?
Right.
For free? All of a sudden, the shoulders go down because you said, for free,
right.
I'm going to help you. And you know that they can't do it because if they could, their numbers would be better.
Already, right.
Right? So then what you do is you show them how to utilize the algorithm. You show them how to put the right hashtags in place. You show them how to create content that is going to be compelling and useful in order to sell a product or service and solve the problem of the people that they serve.
For sure.
You do that, then everything changes. And so aside from that, I still speak for youth groups, churches, government, city governments, things of that nature, where they're trying to speak to youth, get them empowered, get them moving. So, I'm extremely blessed to be able to still use a microphone, but in a different way.
In a different way, for sure. You got a lot going on. Before we kind of get to wrapping all of this up, is there anything that you feel like is like, I really need to make sure that people understand this?
Kyle, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't care how skilled you are. I don't care how talented you are. There are days when you don't know what the hell is going to happen, right? So it's okay. There are days when I'm going to be honest with you. Even now, best shape of my life, absolutely happy. I don't worry about too much of anything. There are days when I just don't have it in me, and that's okay. You need to give into that feeling sometimes. And then you get up and you say, I set a promise for myself. I need for people to understand that you are not fighting for you. You are fighting for your last name. So I want us to realize that the final level is death. And when you understand that the final level is death, then you realize that you need to get up and keep playing.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the main thing I want people to understand.
There it is, man. That's my guy, Taz Daddy, the business bully, David Anderson.
We are the Morning Hustle.